Hello, my name is Bob Hill, and I am the president of the Church of Scientology Mission of Riverdale at 308 Broadview Avenue in Toronto. This is our 6th Sunday service delivered online during the coronavirus disease restrictions. In the last sermons, we talked about the importance of keeping well while staying active and productive and looking outward. We talked about the value of religion. We talked about treating others the way you would like to be treated. Today is Mother's Day, and the topic of our sermon is how to honor and help your parents. I'll begin by reading the creed of the Church of Scientology. We of the Church believe that all men of whatever race, color, or creed were created with equal rights. That all men have inalienable rights to their own religious practices and their performance. That all men have inalienable rights to their own lives. That all men have inalienable rights to their sanity. That all men have inalienable rights to their own defense. That all men have inalienable rights to conceive, choose, assist, or support their own organizations, churches, and governments. That all men have inalienable rights to think freely, to talk freely, to write freely their own opinions, and to counter or utter or write upon the opinions of others. That all men have inalienable rights to the creation of their own kind. That the souls of men have the rights of men. That the study of the mind and the healing of mentally caused ills should not be alienated from religion or condoned in non-religious fields, and that no agency less than God has the power to suspend or set aside these rights overtly or covertly. And we of the Church believe that man is basically good, that he is seeking to survive, that his survival depends upon himself and upon his fellows and his attainment of brotherhood with the universe. And we of the Church believe that the laws of God forbid man to destroy his own kind, to destroy the sanity of another, to destroy or enslave another's soul, to destroy or reduce the survival of one's companions or one's group. And we of the Church believe that the spirit can be saved, and that the spirit alone may save or heal the body. You got it? Good stuff. I could probably do a sermon on that creed one day. Now we're going to carry on from here, and I'm going to take up a reference called Personal Integrity, and it was written by L. Ron Hubbard. And I want you to keep it in mind as we go over the sermon today. What is true for you is what you have observed yourself. And when you lose that, you have lost everything. What is personal integrity? Personal integrity is knowing what you know. What you know is what you know. And to have the courage to know and say what you have observed. And that is integrity. And there is no other integrity. Of course, we can talk about honor, truth, all these things, these esoteric terms. But I think they'd all be covered very well if what we really observed was what we observed. That we took care to observe what we were observing, that we always observed to observe, and not necessarily maintaining a skeptical attitude, a critical attitude, or an open mind, but certainly maintaining sufficient personal integrity and sufficient personal belief and confidence in self and courage that we can observe what we observe and say what we have observed. Nothing in Dianetics and Scientology is true for you unless you have observed it. And it is true according to your observation. That is all. So there you go. So you carry that with you as I do the sermon, and that should help you. Now, just to make a little side note about that, personal integrity is a very important thing today, as so much data is coming at us on the media, the internet, and by word of mouth. It can be confusing. I encourage you to really look at your environment and to have courage and speak up. We do have freedom of speech in Canada, and you can reach out and communicate. So again, personal integrity is a very important thing. It's very important today, as much data is coming at us on the media, the internet, and by word of mouth. So take that personal integrity reference, apply it to what you see. It will help you. You got it? Good stuff. Now, today is Mother's Day. So to all the moms out there, I want to wish you a very happy Mother's Day. And let's just make the best of it that we can, even though we can't be together. My mother is 90 years old. She's very independent. She lives by herself in a condo. She still takes care of herself. She's clear as a bell. We talk about every 3 weeks. I couldn't go down and see her this Mother's Day. However, I'm certainly going to make a phone call to her and let her know that I still remember her and I still keep her in my thoughts. The topic of the service today is how to honor and help your parents. Scientology is a practical religion, and it's for use to improve situations. Scientology teaches a person how to know. That's what the word means. Knowing how to know. I'm going to take time to clear up the terms used because understanding words makes it possible to learn and survive. Some parents and grandparents at this time of the COVID-19 pandemic are isolated from their children, grandchildren, and friends. It can be a lonely and frightening time. For some, they may have even lost a parent or grandparent to the pandemic. We hope to bring you some compassion, relief, and hope for the future. I'll be using a book written by L. Ron Hubbard to give you more information on how to honor and help your parents. The book is called The Way to Happiness, A Common Sense Guide to Better Living, written in 1982. This is the book, and you can see it on the screen there as well. In Chapter 5 of The Way to Happiness, the precept or rule discussed is honor and help your parents. The word honor means to show respect for, to be polite, to give good attention to, especially to put another's interests first. Okay? From a child's point of view, parents are sometimes hard to understand. There are differences between generations, but truthfully, this is no barrier. Some examples of some differences in generations would be, in my generation, we wore bell-bottom pants, we wore a lot of wild floppy shirts, etc. Today, the guys walk around and they have more of the straight leg pants, tight fitting. Their hair is trimmed and cut. We had long hair. Mine was halfway down my back. But those were the times at that time. So there were differences between the generations, but things seem to always come back around, and you can always get through that barrier because it's not the physical aspect you're looking at, it's the person itself. When one is weak, it is a temptation to take refuge in subterfuges and lies. It is this which builds a wall. A subterfuge is a secret, usually dishonest, way of behaving or doing something. It is an action designed to hide, avoid, or escape something. Now, an example of this would be building walls by being dishonest, secretive, or hiding to avoid or escape something. How would you build a wall? Let's look at that. let's say you go out and when you're a teenager, you borrowed your dad's car and you smashed the front right fender, broke the headlight. You park it in the driveway. When you get home, you don't say anything. Your dad wakes up in the morning and the headlight's broken. He says, "Hey, how'd the headlight get broken?" And instead of you totally being forthright, you kind of, "Well, somebody I thought I saw somebody here when I drove in and parked the car last night, but I wasn't sure, so I came in and went to bed." That creates a wall between you and your father or mother at that time. Because basically you put a falsehood there. Now you have to cover up your tracks all the time. And you might not think as highly of the person who you built the wall in front of. Children can reconcile their differences with their parents. To reconcile is to resolve or end an argument. An example of that might be the child today wants to watch a lot of TV. And the parent says, "Don't watch so much TV." They get into an argument. Instead of arguing, it could be like, "Well, you can watch TV at 4 o'clock to 5 o'clock, but then you got to come and sit down and have dinner. Then we're going to do homework or go out and exercise or whatever you're going to do. And then after that, you can watch another half hour before you go to bed." And the kid goes, "Oh, okay, great." And they've reconciled it. So before any shouting begins, one can at least try to talk it over quietly. If the child is frank and honest, frank means speaking openly, there cannot help but be an appeal that will reach. That means the help will get there and it will turn around. It is often possible to attain a compromise, a settlement on something, where both sides now understand and can agree. It is not always easy to get along with others, but one should try. One cannot overlook the fact that almost always parents are acting from a very strong desire to do what they believe to be best for the child. Children are indebted to their parents for their upbringing, if the parents did so. Now, some examples where the parents may have indebted themselves would be the parents pay for the university education for the child. The parent buys the child a car. They give them all kinds of things. So they tried to help the child with the upbringing. Now the child should try and pay them back in some way, or the son or the daughter should try and pay them back. Well, some parents are so fiercely independent that they will accept no return on the obligation. It is nevertheless true that there often comes a time when it is the turn of the younger generation to care for their parents. But we're seeing that now with COVID-19, where we need to take care of that generation, the older generation, the parents. We need to look in on them, find out how they're doing, make sure they're getting proper food, that they're not ill, etc. In spite of all, one must remember that they are the only parents that you have. And as such, no matter what, one should honor them and help them. You can't go to the closet and get a new set of parents. Those are the parents you have. The way to happiness includes being in good terms with one's parents or those who brought you up. So I ask you to look at ways you can help and honor your parents. And if you are a parent, I ask you how you can allow yourself to be helped and acknowledge and admire your children for helping you. If you have lost a parent or grandparent, I ask you to celebrate all the good your loved one did. And I pray that one day you will cross paths again. For mothers, the task of raising children is of high importance, and we celebrate all the moms today. In a book written by Ron Hubbard called Science of Survival, he says this: The arts and skills of women, the creation and inspiration of which she is capable, and which, here and there in isolated places in our culture, she still manages to effect in spite of the ruin and decay of man's world which spreads around her, must be brought newly and fully into life. These arts and skills and creation and inspiration are her beauty, just as she is the beauty of mankind. Okay? Great. We will now end with a prayer for total freedom. May the author of the universe enable all men to reach an understanding of their spiritual nature. May awareness and understanding of life expand so that all may come to know the author of the universe. And may others also reach this understanding, which brings total freedom. At this time, we think of those whose liberty is threatened, of those who have suffered imprisonment for their beliefs, of those who are enslaved or martyred, and for all those who are brutalized, trapped, or attacked. We pray that human rights will be preserved, so that all people may believe and worship freely, so that freedom will once again be seen in our land. Freedom from war and poverty and want, freedom to be, freedom to do, and freedom to have. Freedom to use and understand man's potential, a potential that is God-given and God-like, and freedom to achieve that understanding and awareness that is total freedom. May God let it be so. Now, if you have any questions or would like someone to talk to you, you can reach us at 416-792-18889. And we also have copies of The Way to Happiness and free booklets on how to stay well available online. In summary, keep yourself well and safe, and reach out to your parents and grandparents in any way you can. To all the moms out there, happy Mother's Day. Join us next Sunday for more ways to help you improve and handle your lives in this extraordinary and challenging time. Thank you.